All right, I'm back and I'm just gonna film this for y'all. I've got my oils all added up to a certain point. If you guys can see inside there, there's some powder on top. That's my NatureZorb. If you don't know anything about NatureZorb, Candle Cocoon is where I bought this. I think it's candlecocoon.com. And it is just modified tapioca starch. And it adds bubbles and it helps anchor my essential oils in my soap. As y'all know, essential oils really kind of fade quite a bit. I try to go as high as I can. I probably, on this particular batch, it's a 50-50 lavender and patchouli. And you just have to go off of what the IFRA says. And I think I used 4% on this. This is the Lavender Love bar that I make. And so I'm just stirring this lye right now, off camera here. And I've been stirring it for the last, I don't know, 3-4 minutes. Just trying to make sure that it's thoroughly stirred up before I pour it in. Because this pitcher is pretty full. I do have a little bit of lilac on top. I don't know if I pour this way you can see. Maybe you can't. I don't know. It's no biggie. It's like, they call it lilac, but it just floats on top. And, yeah. It floats a little bit on top there. I was trying to get the rest of that water out. And for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be very careful to stir it. I realize now that this is so full, I probably should have put it in one of my bigger buckets. And I might still do that. Because this is kind of to the top. And I really don't like to mix it like this when it's so full. I'm still kind of going through the growing pains of making more at a time. This particular formula has 133 ounces of oil weight. And so I am still kind of going through those growing pains. I am going to add to my oils here. I'm just stirring with this. I like to try to just stir around here and get all of these pieces. And you guys see that it's almost all the way melted here. But I like to stir this around and get all the pieces kind of stirred up really good before I put the stick blender to it. I do still have another one here that I need to mix up. And so for you newbies, you guys are going to have to ask me questions in the comments. My oils were all weighed with a scale. What kind of scale? This is the scale that I use. I have two different kinds, but this is the one. It says CJ-4000. Capacity is 4,000 grams. It measures in grams, ounces, pounds, and pieces. So don't ever use pounds or pieces. I usually mostly just grams and ounces. Ounces for the essential oils, because I use the eocalc.com to measure out my essential oil blends. They do keep with the IFRA standards so that I don't go over my allowable percentages for essential oils. So here is my purple Brazilian clay from Rainforest Chica. And this is the intense purple clay. And I measured it out. It is 1 teaspoon per pound of oils. And measured it out. And I'm just going to kind of stir this in here. It'll mix better after I hit the stick blender with it. But I really wanted to be sure to go ahead and kind of let this sit a minute. While I measure out the lye for the other one, because I've got another bucket here. I'm going to make 2 slabs. So I measured out 2 formulas of these, so 133 per bucket. And so I'm going to kind of let that just sit a minute, and I'm going to work on this other one for just a second. I went on ahead and got some more water. And so I usually add some salt to my water because salt, remember, salt makes your bar harder, easier to unmold too. So I'm going to add 8 of these. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 of those. And I'm going to add my water. I do 1.5 parts water to 1 part lye, so 772 grams of water. And so I will measure that. I already realized that I need another stainless pot that's bigger than this, so I'm going to be searching for that real soon too. It's way better just to mix in stainless, and I mean, I could mix in this bucket, but I actually use this bucket to just fill it full of water. And so what I'll do first is I'm going to stir this around with a spatula and make sure that all of that salt is dissolved in this water. Don't want any more salt particles. It'll just make these horrible little dots all in your soap. So have to make sure that it's good and dissolved first, and then after it's dissolved, then I will put the lye in there. And my lye bucket is nearing the end, so I'm gonna have to pour another 50-pound bag into my lye bucket. I do get my lye from a place in Conway, Arkansas called Level 7, and I do believe the last time I bought it, which was last year, it was like $69 and some change for 50 pounds. So I'm gonna stir this up really good, make sure that that salt is completely dissolved in here. And I think I misspoke last time. It's stearic acid that you use if you want to buy that instead of using salt to make your bar harder and easier to unmold. I just use salt, so it's easier and cheaper for me, and you know, I can just go get salt and use it out of my kitchen if I need to. So I'm going to go ahead and measure this lye. So I told you I'm kind of getting down to the bottom of this, so I'm going to have to scoop from the bottom. And you're going to have to be very careful when you're scooping lye. So I need to tear out my scales to 0. And then I'm going to put 514.77. This is getting tricky here. Definitely getting to the end of this bucket. $5.14. I'm almost to there. And I think I've told you guys before that if you don't have lye, you don't have soap. So, let's see, 5, that's good. Good enough for government work. So, and I've had this bucket a long time. There's where it says lye on the front of it here. So I just keep it in that bucket and keep refilling it, and just put that lid on it, and it is good to go. So, and it lasts longer than what the expiration date says. I never pay attention to that expiration date. So, and I might strain this one because I don't know, some of that lye, I'm not sure why, but it has some particles in it, and it just was like that when I bought it, and I'm very picky about that. So I'm sorry to keep y'all waiting. I was hoping not to make this such a long video. I wanted to get to the part where I swirl so you guys could just see a super simple I won't do in the pot. It'll just be a drop swirl in the mold. So that'll be what this one is. And trying to make sure that this is good and mixed up. Having a hard time with this shorter spatula. So, but you really have to be careful, because even through these gloves, you can get lye on these gloves, and these gloves are just, I really should find some other kind of gloves to use, because I have been burned through these gloves. So, all right, I think what I'll do is grab my little strainer. I've got a stainless strainer, and I'll grab that. And I'll just pour this through my strainer, and hopefully whatever that was in there goes out. It probably should be a little bit finer, but oh, that's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Yep. So that's perfect. Got everything out. I'm going to set this off to the side here. And that is hot. So let me move this off to the side, and we will get busy mixing some of this. And that clay is pretty much settled to the bottom there. So I'm going to have to go through and kind of try to work it a little bit. But at least it's hanging out here on the side. It's not getting thick. I didn't hit it with the stick blender yet, so that's good. So we're going to have hopefully plenty of time to swirl. And oh yeah, that looks great. So this is the uncolored portion. Oh, and guess what I still have to add? I have the essential oil right here sitting off to the side, and I'll have to add that. I did a double in this big container that I have, so I really am going to have to look at a little bit bigger mixing containers here if I do this again with this double portion. Probably thinking let me see how many. Let's see what this one is. I could just use that one, but that one's going to be to the top too. So yeah, gonna have to look at doing something different here. So still got to mix the essential oil in here. Gonna have to hit this with the stick blender a little bit whenever I get the essential oil in here to make sure it's good and incorporated. And then off the side here, I've got my stick blender ready to go. I'll move all my stuff out of the way because it's gonna go fast. This I'll probably I'm not gonna be, since it's so late, I'm not gonna be unmolding it tonight. It will be in the morning when I do that. So but this will be another 60, 62, 64 bars to add to my rack over here, right there. So yeah, so I am going to just hit this with the stick blender a few times. I'll burp it, make sure the air is out. Kind of want to get some of these. So the Nature's Orb makes it a little bit yellowish, but it will be like a creamy color. So I'm going to go ahead and add, I've got to have something to stick this on. I don't know what I'm going to stick it on. I'm going to have to go ahead and add this essential oil and leave this be and let it hang out a minute. I'm so disorganized today. It's Sunday. I don't know. So I'm going to just add part of that essential oil, and I'll add the other part to the other side. And oh, that smells wonderful, y'all. Absolutely wonderful. So I'm just going to sit here and blend it a little bit with my spatula, because it is kind of getting thick on me, and I get kind of nervous when it gets thick like this. But I am going to just kind of gently stir it here, and then I'll leave it be. And I'll come back over here in a minute with the stick blender and make sure that it's all the way through to the bottom. So, because I want to make sure everybody gets a bar that smells nice and lavender scented. So I'm going to move over to this one. I'm going to add the rest of this in here. And so for this particular batch, it's like I said, it was 50-50 lavender and patchouli. And so the patchouli you hardly even smell. So seriously, you hardly even smell the patchouli. So gonna stir this just a little bit, get that clay moving again. I love this color. It's like one of my favorite colors out of Rainforest Chicas. I'm a purple girl, remember? I love my purple. So, let me hit this with this stick blender and kind of get everything moving around. Oh, beautiful. Very, very nice. Okay, so now that I've got the essential oil in that one, I'm going to come back to this one. It won't affect the color too much. So just going to come back and make sure this one is blended. Okay, so now it's going to be time to pour. And so I am going to just do, like I said, a drop swirl into the mold here. And this might be kind of tricky because they're full, so they might turn out a little bit less than a drop. I mean, I want pretty soap, but you know, sometimes when they're full like that, it's very difficult to maneuver. So I'm going to try my best, and this is the soap we're going for. It's this color. So got one sitting over here. Got an order I need to send out on Monday, which is tomorrow. And so let's see if I can make a go of this. trying to clean up my mess over here. I don't like a messy area. Okay, so here's my first mold. And I don't guess it matters which one you drop in with first. So I'm just going to kind of make a base on the bottom. Oh man, I could just make a big mess, could I? Okay, let me get the hot soap off my hand. So I'm just going to go in here. This might be a pretty chunky swirl. We'll just see how it turns out. I may have to go back in here and swirl it with a tool. But this is how it goes when you're working with a lot of soap at once. So I'm just going to kind of go around it and do some swirling around, and hope for the best. This definitely can get really tricky. And I'm going to pour all the way to the top of this. So I'm just about done with this last little bit here. So that looks marvelous. So I don't know if y'all can see that. I'll tip the camera just a little bit, but that's the first one, and then I'll have one more to do. So there's that one. And then I'll go through and texture the tops of these. All right, I hope you guys learned something, and I'll see you next time in the next video. God bless you. Bye-bye.